A very good morning to all. Let's continue with the chapter, Book A, the third chapter, that is American hegemony, the US hegemony. And in this regard only, let's do the topic, the Iraq invasion. Before we start with the topic, the Iraq invasion, I will like to repeat the first Gulf War which had taken place in 1990 against Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. When Iraq started annexing Kuwait with the mandate of the United Nations under the leadership of America, Iraq was attacked and of course Kuwait was liberated from Iraq. But on 19th March 2003 again, the US launched its invasion of Iraq under the code name Operation Iraqi Freedom. But the basic difference between these two operations, the first, that is Operation Desert Storm, which is also called the first Gulf War, and this Operation Iraqi Freedom, which took place on 19th March 2003, the basic difference was that the first operation was done with the mandate, with the permission of the United Nations, while this time United Nations did not give its mandate to go for this invasion. United Nations did not permit to to launch this invasion of Iraq. But even then, under the leadership of America, which is a clear-cut display of the military power of America again, more than 40 other countries joined in the US-led Coalition of the Willing. And why is it called the Coalition of the Willing? Because it was done not at all by the mandate of the United Nations, and it is said that this invasion was launched to prevent Iraq from developing weapons of mass destruction. They are called WMD. I repeat, weapons of mass destruction. But when investigations were done, there was no proof, there was no evidence that Iraq was doing something like that. There were no evidence, nothing was found which could say that Iraq was developing weapons of mass destruction. And it is speculated that mostly this invasion was launched to control the oil fields of Iraq and to install a regime friendly to the US. No doubt the government of Saddam Hussein, it fell swiftly. Saddam Hussein was arrested. There was a case against him in the International Court of Justice. He was hanged as well. But US has not been able to pacify still Iraq. And a fully fledged insurgency against US occupation was ignited in Iraq. Though as a result of that, America has lost more than 3,000 military personnel in the war, but the loss of Iraqi lives, that is more. And it is estimated that more than 50,000 Iraqi civilians have been killed since the US-led invasion. And no doubt Iraq is totally changed. Earlier, like whatever happened as a result of the Operation Desert Storm, the first Gulf War, and then this Operation Iraqi Freedom, and then later on ISIS, I must say that most of the big cities of Iraq, they have turned into ruins. If we go for their pictures and all, what Baghdad was in 1970 and what Baghdad is now, there's a huge difference which we come to know. A huge destruction which is done by maybe by American forces, or maybe by those bombardments, or maybe by whatever ISIS has done to them. But of course this country is they have suffered great destruction. So far civilian lives are concerned, so far their own economic power is concerned, they have suffered a lot. And it is now widely recognized US invasion of Iraq is considered to be quite a crucial, respects both a military and political failure, because even till the date US has not been able to pacify Iraq. Now all those examples, they all are the example of US behaving like a hegemon. Like, why is it so that they launched number of operations on the lands of other countries and there was not such a big retaliation? It is not so easy for any other country. In my last lecture, I told you, I informed you people that as a retaliation of 9/11, They searched the secret agencies of America. They looked for Osama bin Laden, the person, the mastermind who was behind all this episode of 9/11, and he was killed on the land of America, on the land of Pakistan, by American secret agencies. So it is all a clear-cut display of the power, especially of the military power of American hegemonic nature. It is a clear-cut display of American military power, and it is a display, it is an example that America behaves like a hegemon. Of course, they are. Now, that is the reason you are having this chapter in your book. We are studying US hegemony. Now, the question arises, what does hegemony mean? In the beginning also, I had explained that having a system, having a superpower is called hegemony. And the one who is the superpower will be called hegemon. How is it so that it is related to world politics? Let me explain. See, the world is about power. This politics is about power, and politics is just a game of power only. In real life also, people, they want to gain more and more power. Some of the people are over there who want to control the others. Some type of people who are quite passive in nature. There are some people who are submissive in nature. There are some people who are good leaders in the world. So exactly in the same manner, different countries behave on international platform. There are some countries who are very powerful. There are some countries whose foreign policy is quite passive in nature. There are some countries who participate aggressively, so far their foreign policy is concerned. There are some countries who follow the policy of expansion. There are some who are quite big peacemakers and all. Just the way we have different people in the society, exactly in the same manner, we have different types of countries in this world. We have different types of players on the platform of this international politics. And when we talk about the type of foreign policy or the type of politics we had on international platform before the disintegration of the USSR, it was totally bipolar in nature. Again, I am explaining you the meaning of bipolarity, having two poles, and power was totally concentrated, between these two power blocks. One was USA, that represented a capitalistic economy, and the other one USSR, that represented communistic ideology. But as a result of the disintegration of the USSR, the world had just one power block, that was the USA. When there is a rivalry between two power blocks, or I must say that when there is a rivalry, there is a competition between two people, and one rival is no more, he does not stand anywhere, then of course there will be just one. Then with whom this person will be having rivalry? No one. So he will be the most powerful one. Exactly the same thing happened with the US. The world was left with just one power block, just one pole, that is called the US. Now the world turned into a unipolar system. That is the centralization or the concentration of the power in one power block only, in one pole only. But instead of calling it unipolar system, it's better to call it hegemonic. It may be more appropriate to describe an international system with only one center of power, the hegemony. So this is, I must say, that instead of calling the world now a unipolar system, because there is no other power blocks to give a competition to America. Of course, there are number of power blocks, there are number of different players which are upcoming on the world map, which we will be dealing in, which we will be dealing with in other chapters as well. But since we are dealing with American hegemony in this lecture, we will restrict our discussion to that only. So instead of calling it a unipolar system, instead of calling it a system in which just one power block is over there, in which the entire power of the world is centralized, we call it hegemonic. That is, again I repeat the meaning of the word hegemonic. Hegemonic is a system in which we have one center of power, and the one who plays the role of this power block is called hegemon. Thank you.